I would say knowing when, right? Most factories are going to tell you, don't worry, we'll fix it in mass production. And something I've said over the years that I stand by all the time is if it's wrong now, it's going to be wrong later. So for the most part, when you have problems, you need to fix them now. But don't go to the ends of the world to make every single thing perfect, right? There are things that can't really be changed in mass production. Mold, structure, mechanical issues, those things aren't going to change. So if a factory tells you that they can, they're full of it and don't believe them. But little things, packaging. Your prototype for your packaging can change the day before your mass production is done, and it won't hurt anybody. So just take that in mind. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. But there are things that you can change down the road, and there are things that you need to get right ASAP. Being able to differentiate those is super important. That comes to CCM, right? Component control method. When I first moved to China, I saw stuff getting copied left and right. Now, China's come leaps and bounds. They don't want to copy, right? China doesn't want to copy stuff. They want to be creative. They want to have their own ideas, and they're doing a lot of that. More and more, it's becoming more and more common. But the main way to do that, we call it component control method. You don't just give your entire design files to a factory that you don't know or trust. In another part of your life, you wouldn't give somebody your bank account code and all this other information and give them everything. Why would you do that with your product, right? You break your product down into components, find specialized factories who can make excellent components. No factory wants to copy your idea, I promise. Nobody. They're too busy. They have too much of their own stuff going on. They don't want to steal your idea. The only time factories will take your idea is if you're very, very successful and they already have your design files, or they reverse engineer from scratch, right? Look how they're so busy. They don't want to steal. Ideas aren't worth anything. But when you're starting to get going, break your product down into different components, give them to specialized factories. No one's going to steal it because they can't. Look, this is a long process. One of my favorite sayings with business is, and I have an example, right, where somebody thought that doing what we do is super easy. So they tried to copy our idea. Thought that it was easy to do business. If business was easy, everybody would do it. Right? Business is the most competitive sport in the world. It takes hard work and research. So if you don't know where to start doing research. There's so much resources available online. We've put out hundreds of videos. Watch them. Learn more, educate yourself, get the basics down before you're jumping hurdles to get to the more complex problems. So I think this will happen a lot, right? At the end of the day, factories are businesses, and if you say to them, I want to give you my money, they're going to say, okay, I can do it, right? And they're going to try to figure it out. They're going to try to figure out how to make it happen, right? They're not scammers. They're not trying to steal your money. They're just doing their best to make money, right? It's business. What you can do, what I recommend, is start small and scale aggressively, right? Don't give a huge 6-figure order to a factory you've never done stuff with. Give them little tests. Make a sample of a component. Do they do that well? Is their communication on point? Do they deliver when they say they're going to deliver? Is the product of the quality they promise? If all that's true, then give them something bigger. So it's really on you if you give too much to a factory too early. Take your time. I think they're two separate things, to be honest. I think protecting your IP is a SOP-related question, right? Are you doing the right things to make sure that not everyone has your design files? Keeping your costs down is good negotiation, knowing what materials you're doing, and making a design that makes sense, right? And for that, I like to work backwards. What do you want to sell the product at, right? One thing that I never do is negotiate too hard with our factories, right? You can ask my friends at this factory. I'm never going to come in and say your price is too high, cheaper. I don't want to do that. I want my factories to make the amount of money that they need to make so that they're happy. Because if they're happy, they'll do more good work for us, and then everyone wins, right? Everyone needs to make money. If you negotiate too hard with your factories, then some factories are gonna cut corners, and you're gonna be, oh, the factory made a bad product. No, you made a bad product by negotiating too hard. Everyone needs to make money, be smart.